Well, welcome. I'm Roger Aronoff, the editor of Accuracy in Media, and welcome you all here to this press conference where we're releasing and talking about our new report from the Citizens Commission on Benghazi called Betrayal in Benghazi, a Dereliction of Duty. No one may believe this. We had no idea when we planned this that the select committee was going to be releasing theirs a day before, but that's how it turned out. So it's interesting timing, and we're happy to add more to the body of work that is explaining Benghazi. So a little background here. Accuracy in Media is the original media watchdog group founded back in 1969 by Reed Irvine. And it was very concerned about national security issues and how the media coverage affected that. And we have been involved in many national security issues through the years as a result of that. And you can read a lot about that. I'm not going to spend much time on that today, but I'm sure most of you are familiar with our work, and I hope you take a look. But from POWMIA to when Time and CNN did their Operation Tailwind story that we destroyed, that television's Vietnam, a documentary we put on in response to a 13-part PBS series in the 80s. Anyway, we come up to now, and why did we decide to get involved in this Benghazi issue? Well, we had been watching from the sideline, as everyone had, as committee after committee took a look at this. But the problem was they were each in their own turf. There were limits of 5 minutes on each question. They didn't really seem to be getting anywhere. And you had the Accountability Review Board, which I think is pretty clearly was in the tank. It was appointed by the State Department. Hillary was never interviewed. So we decided, as we've done many times in the past, to step up and let's take a look at this. And we came up with the idea of the Citizens Commission on Benghazi. And two of the first people I went to were up here with me today, Admiral Ace Lyons and General Tom McInerney. And I believe, if I can speak for them a little bit, I think what interested them about this was the dereliction of duty that we consider took place, particularly on the day of, but really more so than that. So as we look at this, everyone's looking for smoking guns. As a matter of fact, if you saw Dana Milbank's piece, Dana's here with us today in today's Post. He says, where are the smoking guns? Gowdy's report, and he has quotes from Gowdy, and it makes it sound like, hey, there's no smoking guns. There's a media theme or meme out there that keeps saying, and you see this in New York Times, CNN, everywhere is saying, no new evidence of any wrongdoing by Hillary Clinton. That seems to be the conclusion of most of the media in response to yesterday. And we see a field of smoking guns, even today. Some of it's not new, but what you have here is a large puzzle, many pieces that people keep putting in. We've put in with our report 2 years ago. When we formed this back in 2013, we held an all-day conference with a number of people. Frank Wolf, who was the congressman pushing for the select committee. We had Charles Woods. We had the people from Judicial Watch who have done so much great work on this subject. Then we held a press conference in April of 2014 where we released our first report on this, and we talked about how the U.S. changed sides in the war on terror. And we laid out a narrative that we feel has been corroborated, stands to this day, and we've added a lot more to it in this new report. So I really hope you all, unlike Gowdy, you don't need to read 800 pages. If you read about 60, you'll really get the feel and the flavor of this. But we've done it in such a way We have the key findings. We have an executive summary and a table of contents, and you can get through this thing. But so the different aspects of this that we see, let me just mention, I mean, a couple of the smoking guns, and whether they're new or not, they fit into this. For instance, we know what Hillary was telling her daughter, what she was telling the Prime Minister of Egypt, the President of Libya on the night while the attacks were going on, and yet we know that they came out from their deputies meeting and they issued a statement that night that it was about the video, the innocence of Muslim video, and this was their theme for quite a while. Smoking gun, well, you decide. I mean, we also have the issues of how they tampered with the talking points that ended up going to Susan Rice. And it was kind of interesting yesterday. Brett Baer was interviewing Gowdy last night, and he said, well, you were prepared to, you said Susan Rice made this stuff up out of whole cloth, but when it comes to talking about Hillary Clinton, you won't say she lied. And he was very reluctant to be critical of Hillary or Obama. And this really is a scandal as far as we're concerned, multi-level scandal of different going into Iraq into Libya in the first place. And after our first conference, and then at our April 22nd, 2014 conference, one person who is here today who came to us in the meantime, Admiral Chuck Kubik. And he was an active duty admiral during the Iraq War in the early 2000s, and he retired, but he stayed in that part of the world, and he was in Libya, and he was approached by the Gaddafi regime to go to the U.S. government and say, I am prepared to negotiate my abdication under a white flag of truce. Let's not go to war. And he delivered that message and got no response back from Washington. So they were determined to go to war. Then we know about the flow of arms that was facilitated by our government, not directly supplied, but to known al-Qaeda groups. There's no question about it that this happened and created this. I mean, Obama to this day says his biggest mistake was not preparing better for what happened in Libya after Gaddafi was gone. And today you have what we call Mad Max, really, environment in Libya, and ISIS and al-Qaeda and people running around there. And anyway, we come to all these efforts. As we know, there were many requests, 600 or so, for more security in Libya, nearly 100 of those for Benghazi. Hillary, at her October testimony last year, said never got to her. She didn't know anything about it. Smoking gun? I don't know. Depends on how you look at it. So, again, the Gowdy Committee, one of their problems was complete lack of cooperation from the White House. They have shown now that questions they've been asking, and the White House is no. You know, executive privilege, separation of powers, whatever. We're not going to tell you. We can get away with it. The media is in our pocket, basically, is what it amounts to. And that's really what's going on here. No matter what comes out, the media, the role of many in the mainstream media is to protect the legacy of President Obama and protect the presidential candidacy and viability of Hillary Clinton. And I really believe that is much of what's going on here. I wish people will read this and report on it. If there's anything wrong in it, inaccurate, tell us about it. We'll be happy to correct the record. But we think it's a penetrating analysis of what happened before going into Libya, arms flowing to al-Qaeda, failure of security before Benghazi, the day of. This is the one that's crazy. Even today, they're saying there's no evidence that the military, even though Panetta ordered a deployment, nothing came. As Gowdy was saying, there were 2 drones overhead, and there was people that came in from Tripoli, but had nothing to do with being sent by the U.S. military. And so where were they? They couldn't get there in 13 hours? Well, we have people here, General McInerney, who led the raids into Libya in 1986. Admiral Ace Lyons commanded over 250,000 men at one time when he was commander-in-chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. So they're going to tell you what the military should have done, could have done, and it's unthinkable that they didn't. And then, of course, the cover-up, the lies that continue to this day. And we've seen it. And again, this is in large part thanks to Judicial Watch, uncovered the Rhodes memo that showed how they had politicized this process and got that going. And then, you know, the media, again, big part why AIM got into this thing. But it was infuriating to see how this is unfolded. And we are adding more to this narrative. I believe really nails it, unlike any of the other reports. But this story is not over. I mean, there is more. We have a list of questions, which is in your press kit, which we hope the journalists will use it. Let's get the answers out of the administration. We're going to continue, and we're hoping that more Admiral Kubiks, more people who are on active duty today, people who have signed non-disclosure agreements, that they will come forward and tell us what they know.